Remember, he talked about this opening policy, and we have started. The train has left the station. My ministry is expressly involved in implementation of 2 of the World Bank's indicators of ease of doing business. That is dealing with construction permits and registering property. The former is of interest to this association, as I'm aware also that the World Bank has engaged you to coordinate data collection for the sub-county doing business study. My ministry is charged with the responsibility of enforcing building regulations and standards. So we have therefore initiated a consultative process of harmonizing levies in the construction industry. Through this intervention and working with all players in the industry, professional bodies included, we hope to attain smart regulation that ensures standards are met, while at the same time making compliance easy and accessible to all. This way, ladies and gentlemen, we hope that Kenya will match the ease of compliance with that of our peers, not only in Africa, but beyond. It is my sincere hope that these awards will contribute in unlocking innovation in architecture and extension in construction industry, and ultimately save the government on health and financial costs of environmentally malignant buildings. Towards this end, as designers of built environment, let us adopt a conscious approach to energy and ecological conservation, aimed at minimizing the negative environmental impact of building through the following. 1, efficient water, land, material, and energy use. So when you design our buildings, to what extent are we very efficient in the things that I've mentioned? Again, reduction of greenhouse gases, emissions, water, and ecological pollution, and optimization of social and economic benefits. In this regard, I urge the association and the industry to endeavor at realizing the best practice in green architecture. I now have the pleasure of congratulating all the nominees for tonight's awards and the association for the success in nurturing professionals through its various chapters. Thank you, and God bless all of you.
It is such a great challenge to speak after our chief guest has spoken with such beautiful eloquence, such oratory. I have no words. Please, another round of applause for our chief guest. My name's Alan Kenneth Birabi. I hail from the Republic of Uganda, Makerere University. And we have a tradition in Uganda that when the bigger drum has spoken, the smaller drums should not speak. But so, Master of Ceremonies, I would have begged earlier that I speak before the chief guest, but I hope the bending of protocol will be accepted. Thank you. Our chief guest and Cabinet Secretary, Minister of Land, Housing, and Urban Development of this great nation of Kenya, and all the distinguished guests here tonight, ladies and gentlemen. With me is a team of 2 other colleagues who I would like to call to come and join me at the front here, who constituted the jury that did the assessment of what we are going to see the results tonight. Architect Shamla Fernandez, please join me at the front here. And architect Jean Van Zent, please come at the front here. Perhaps I'll first introduce the two of my colleagues here. It is such a privilege that we met our first time, and it is like we had met before. We commingled each other, our biosocial chemistries just moved into one another so beautifully. Architect Shamla Fernandez is pleasing to reflect back that she's an alumni of the University of Nairobi, the Department of Architecture and Building Science, the first lady to get a first-class degree in architecture decades back. Architect Van Delbrink hails from Netherlands, a long-standing practitioner who accomplished his graduate studies at Delft University and has practiced for many years. Is very experienced across the globe, in Kenya here, and they brought a lot of experiences on the team that we constituted, the three of us. I would particularly like to reflect on the experiences we've had with Shamla on the team. She has an eye for detail. And our cabinet secretary has just mentioned why it is so important. And she has an eye for meticulousness. We benefited a lot from her contributions, and Van Zesland is very gifted with an eye for precision, for functionality, for aesthetics. We were very blessed to have this commingling of these different talents and abilities. I hail from the academia at Makerere University. I happen to have been one of the pioneers, together with Professor Barnabas Nawangwe, who has been external examiner at the Department of Architecture and Building Science here, when we started the architecture school at Makerere University way back in 1989-90 academic year. That's about our backgrounds. We are greatly honored to stand before you to carry a sizable weight of responsibility to speak in the voice of the jury for the 2016 AAK Awards of Excellence in Architecture. I've already introduced the jury, and meeting our first time, we have worked as a corporate team. And again, like the cabinet secretary talked of, teamwork. We enjoyed the teamwork that flourished in judging the competition. Before proceeding further, the jury wishes to first of all congratulate AAK for its continued efforts with support of generous partners like Basco Products Limited for staging these awards of architectural excellence on a regular basis. A hand clap again for AAK and Basco Products Limited. Throughout our 3-day intense exercise, scrutinizing 62 entries, we have been well looked after to the extent that we hardly felt any fatigue or stress. 3 days, 62 entries is a heavy load. If you recall back your days of studio work in the architecture studio, doing a project would take 2-3 months. And here we were with 62 projects to scrutinize in 3 days. I think you may want to clap for us. Thank you so much for the trust that you bestowed upon us, and we tried our best to do our job with absolute, entire, complete, and utter independence and professionalism. Well, we didn't in any way, and I would like to declare this before you, we didn't in any way interact with any of the competitors for absolute impartiality. We did that to the best of our ability. We commenced our work, and the entries were already up on the peanut boards at the ADD building at the School of Architecture. At this juncture, the jury finds it fitting to thank a few persons I'd like to mention here who facilitated us. First and foremost, the Secretariat of AAK, Architect Jacob Mwangi, Wilson Mugambi. Please clap for them. They really facilitated us in getting us here, in arranging our accommodation, and all other details of comfort. I would also want to extend our sincere gratitude to a student by the names Miss Brenda Nyawara. Please, Brenda, if wherever you are, yes, can you just come forward? This is a great, promising lady. She handled a lot of protocol around us, facilitation, our transportation back and forth from the hotel every day, and she kept waiting on us, asking, is there anything that you need? Every 30 or so minutes throughout the 3 days. Once again, please, a round of applause for Brenda. Apparently, involving students in such activities is one of the best practices for initiating students to customs and traditions, the norms and aspirations and goals of the profession. And the jury would like to commend AAK and the Department of Architecture and Building Science for this novelty. And please continue to do so. We, the jury, would like to offer our congratulations to all the persons who participated in this architectural competition. Whereas there will be some individuals who will definitely walk away tonight with some awards, the greatest thing to be celebrated tonight is the humane and professional spirit of willingness to participate in the competition. And in that sense, in a special way, all the participants, diversely talented and highly creative, you are winners. And I think, let us clap for ourselves for that excellent virtue. Our chief guests and members present, the jury quickly wishes to throw some light on how the assessment proceeded. In the first place, it is worth knowing that the competition proceeded under 10 categories, namely the following: Best Residential Building Project, Best Cultural Building Project, the Best Urban Design and Town Planning Project, the Best Hospitality Industry Project, Best Healthcare Project, Best Educational Institutional Project, Best Landscape Project, Best Building Transformation and Renovation Project, and the other was Concept and Ongoing Projects. Those were the categories that in which the competitors competed. The jury proceeded to assess the first, and second, and third winning projects in each of these categories on the basis of a 9-point strong criterion that was recommended by AAK. In brief, the jury looked at some of the items which our chief guest has already pronounced, but I can just reflect quickly on them. Number one, we looked at response of each entry to the design in accordance to the category that each competitor was competing. And there we scrutinized also originality. Originality implying we were interested in seeing the essence of uniqueness, not cut and paste, piracy. We didn't like to see that. We didn't want to see evidence of plagiarism. It is not good as professionals to achieve anything in our lives by way of minimum effort. It does no good to the profession. We also looked at selection of materials, how materials have been handled, with a bias particularly to local materials. We also looked at cost effectiveness and affordability. We looked at response to local or traditional architectural values, sociocultural values and virtues. We also looked at sustainability and maintainability. The other was eco-efficiency and response to local climate. And thanks, our chief guest has put it right. I have no better words. Response to local development plans and compatibility with immediate local or urban or rural surroundings. And lastly, but not least, appropriateness of the project to the needs of stakeholders and society. In other words, the project had to be significant. So that was the criteria that we followed in doing our assessment. Against this background, the jury proceeded to assess the work with as much impartiality, professionalism, and intellectual and logical rigor. In several instances, the jury returned to the projects a number of times to ensure a thorough job. And our colleague with an eye for detail was very good. For the men here tonight, imagine a world without women, what it would have been. We would have been so careless, I think. Shamla was so diligent at that. I think we give her a hand clap. The jury will share the task of releasing the outcomes with a brief mention of the strength of each winner. May I now draw our attention to that next stage of presenting the results. The category of best residential projects. We looked at the projects in a very scrutinous and detailed manner. We cannot talk for each of the project, but we'll just, in the interest of time, mention briefly the project and what merit it carried. The project known as Lockwood Apartments. The jury felt it qualified for an honorable mention. It endeavored to show the different aesthetic languages in a very modernist way for a multi-story residential structure with such unique creativity and innovation among the whole lineup of the projects that were there. We went then to assess the third project. I will mention from the third, second, to the winning, the first. Let's begin with the third. The third was Sultan Palace Beach Retreat. Sultan Palace Beach Retreat. the main thrust of strength was the good adaptation of Swahili building traditions and layouts. It exhibited excellence in that aspect, and that was a major strength. Of course, with the other aspects of the criterion that we have looked at. Then came number 2, Karen House. Karen House exhibited a clever adaptation of local architectural style in a very modernist context. That was its major strength. And then we zeroed on the winning project in this category. It was Lamu Apartments. Lamu Apartments was outstanding with such excellence, and it showed the blending with the local built environment with such sophisticated artistry and ambience. Its sense of design regarding handling light, color, materials, proportions, and other elements of design was excellent. So that was the winning project in the best residential. Let me ask the winners at this juncture to come forward, please. Now, the third, the second, and first. Please do come forward for recognition. And I seek the advice of the MC on how we'll proceed in recognizing them. Thank you.
We'd like the winners to come, and I'd like the Professor Kennedy to please come and award the two winners. Second prize, for the sake of time, is John Murray.
The second and the winner, Lamu Apartments.
I'm not the winner, but I will represent the winner.
Yes, it's appropriate. Thank you, thank you.
For the second category, which is commercial building projects, we had a high quality submissions, and we had a very difficult task, the three of us, when we went through all the projects. And that's why we would like to start in this category as well with an honorable mention. That means that there's a building that was so interesting, apart from the 3 prizes we were obliged to give, that we would like to pay some attention to it. We found one interesting building, not quite in its correct place, because it has to compete with very elegant office buildings. And we appreciate the firm very much who submitted it, who submitted an industrial building of a good quality. And we are sure they are proud of it. So I think we should honor the guts they had to bring it in. Perhaps we need a separate category for industrial buildings to inspire good craftsmanship and design. The honorable mention is for the Imperial Health Sciences Building by Planning System Services. So then we go to the third prize, the regular prizes. The most striking of the building we choose to have the third prize is the absolute modernity it represents. Iconic in its environment, an eye-catcher of this time in Kenya. And there's also a quality on the urban planning side. As Cullen has taught us, a city is a story of places and routes, And this building thus connects the Sarit Center hub, transport hub, lots of people, with the West Gate, because it's forming the hinge of the routes between the two buildings. And this is the Oval by Bowman Associates. But of course, every entry had a completely different character. The number 2 prize in the category, this category, is a set of buildings that perfectly blend in its environment. Also, aesthetically, it matches with the surrounding feel. If we look at it from a town planning view, it's a large plot, and often you see that the buildings are filling the plot to the fringe of the plot, so to say. But this time they put the buildings a bit inside to have a perimeter road where all the parking facilities are, and that allows for inside to have a green garden where you see no cars at all. We thought it was a high quality. The green space at the core of the complex. And this, of course, as you might already have recognized, is